So Republicans passed bill gutting Medicare and Medicaid in the middle of the night vote. House Democrats pushed back by introducing over 500 amendments in a 24-hour committee fight. Let's watch really quickly here this clip of Ben Meiselas interviewing Hakeem Jeffries, and then we will read the rest of this article.
Do Republicans even know all of the things that are in their own bill? I've been seeing a lot of discussions where they seem to even be surprised. Oh, wait a minute, we're doing the tanning bed tax relief while taking out the hospital beds. Whoa, you could. And then the Democrats were prepared. We said, yep, here it is, page 901, line 3. And they'd be like, oh, we'll have to get back to you. And we'd like, get back to you? We're about to vote on this thing. What do you mean get back to us?
Right. It's incredible. This is a bill that's more than 1,000 pages long. We've been combing every single aspect of this bill. They're trying to jam it down the throats of the American people in the dead of night. But we're not going to let them get away with it. We're going to expose each and every toxic aspect of this bill. As you pointed out, Ben, the notion that they are going to try to benefit those who use tanning beds, but rip away hospital beds from people all across this country, including in rural America, says it all, which is why this bill needs to be defeated.
Honestly, I always thought Trump was spray tanned. I didn't think he actually laid in the tanning bed, but I'm not one bit surprised that they would worry more about people in tanning beds than hospital beds. That should probably be the new T-shirt that they make for the MAGA movement. But let's go ahead and read this article here. House Republicans passed a federal budget bill by a vote of 215 to 214 early Thursday morning that includes massive cuts for Medicare and Medicaid in order to extend tax breaks to billionaires. The vote comes after Democrats forced delays for more than 24 hours with amendments and procedure challenges in what may be the closest thing possible to a filibuster in the House. Two Republicans, I'm kind of shocked at this one, Thomas Massie and Warren Davidson voted against the bill, and Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris voted present. All Democrats voted against. The budget bill, H.R. 1, known as One Big Beautiful Bill based on Trump speak, drastically cuts funding for public services, including Medicare, Medicaid, and food assistance programs, while extending tax cuts for billionaires in one of the biggest transfers of wealth in American history, from the most vulnerable in this nation to the most wealthy. Republicans had scheduled a Rules Committee hearing for 1 a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday, when no one was watching, to advance the bill to the floor. House Democrats, starting with leader Hakeem Jeffries, lined up for hours, starting at 1 a.m. to introduce over 500 amendments to the bill during a 5-minute speech each, causing the Rules Committee hearing to go on and on through the day and into the next night. When the bill finally made it out of the committee and went to the House floor, Democrats continued to delay by introducing procedure challenges to the rules. Rules on the bill finally passed the House at 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday, with the floor debate on the bill finally beginning at 3 a.m. over one full day after Rules Committee gavelled in. So Democrats have given Republicans more than 500 opportunities to protect working class Americans, and Republicans have sided with the billionaires each time, the DNC chair Ken Martin said in a statement. He also said, despite fully knowing the devastating consequences, Republicans are jamming through a budget that puts struggling Americans last and the most callous elites first. Voters will remember this betrayal. Now, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the bill would drastically cut federal spending on programs from the bottom 10% of Americans, while increasing federal benefits to the top 10%, all while exploding the federal deficit, get this folks, by $3.8 trillion. The agency estimates that in general, resources would decrease for households in the lowest tenth of income distribution, whereas resources would increase for households in the highest decline, the CBO reads. The CBO also stated that the bill would trigger $500 billion in automatic cuts to Medicare and to statutory Pay-As-You-Go Act. So Pennsylvania Democrat Brendan Boyle said the Republican budget bill is one of the most expensive and dangerous bills Congress has seen in decades. The nonpartisan CBO makes it clear the deficit will explode so badly it will trigger automatic cuts, including over $500 billion from Medicare. Now, according to the CBO, effects of the bill include, now get a load of this, an increase in the federal deficit of 3.8 trillion, attributable to tax changes, including extending provisions of the 2017 Tax Act, 698 billion less in federal subsidies from changes to the Medicaid program, 267 billion less in federal spending for SNAP, 64 billion less spending on net for all other purposes. That includes increases in outlays of defense, immigration enforcement, and homeland security. Those are offset by reductions in federal pensions, receipts from spectrum auctions, and changes in receipts and outlays associated with changes to emissions regulation. 78 billion in additional state spending on net, accounting for changes in state contributions to SNAP and Medicaid, and for state tax and spending policies necessary to finance additional spending. The bill also contains multiple extremist MAGA policies, including increasing ICE spending funding to nearly 80 billion. 351 billion in cuts to student aid, including ending Biden's student debt forgiveness program and making it harder to qualify for Pell Grants, greenlighting fossil fuel extraction on public lands, dismantling protections of federal workers and independent oversight agencies, killing green energy funding from the Inflation Reduction Act, and adding a new tax on EVs, limiting judges' authority, to make it easier for Congress to sabotage future regulations. Several Republicans in the Senate have stated the bill is dead on arrival because of the tax burden that it forces on the states. So yeah, folks, that is what Republicans would refer to as a big, beautiful bill. That's them putting the turd between the bread and trying to tell you that it's a peanut butter sandwich. That's exactly what this is. And to all the Republicans who are now suddenly, in favor of gutting Medicaid and Medicare, do y'all remember when Joe Biden pointed this out to them and they heckled him and said, no, we're not out to do that? Do y'all remember this?
All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. And I tell you, I enjoy conversion. It means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you.
I really think that clip right there just needs to be played on repeat. Folks, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, okay? I'll be the first one to say that. I graduated from a poor high school in southeast Kentucky with a 2.5 grade point average. I barely made it out the door, truthfully, if I'm being honest with you. I was one of those kids that was too busy playing my guitar and just dying to graduate so I could go play in the dive bars before I was actually old enough to get in them. So, what I've learned is stuff that I've learned over the years, educating myself and reading for myself and learning and listening to others. But I have enough sense to see through a grift, and I have enough sense to see through when someone is absolutely trying to make me eat a shit sandwich. And that's what's going on here. First of all, I'll just say this. If someone came out, I don't care what political party it was, and said, one big, beautiful bill, I would automatically go, that's like a used car salesman, okay? And I don't trust that shit. It's like when the used car dealer says, come on down to so-and-so's auto sales and, go in debt for the rest of your life, and then I'll give you a free watermelon, and everybody runs down there to get it. It's such an insult, and it's just a way for Trump and his cronies to get richer, and the people that voted for him and waiting for the cheaper eggs to just struggle harder. So we'll keep following this story, and I know sometimes, I've been trying to read through the bill. For people like us, it can be confusing, and when they're that long, you can easily get bored and tap out after a while. But they're absolutely going for our throats. And they're doing it to line their pockets and make themselves richer. They are always going to play the culture wars. They're always going to get people worked up over things that don't matter, and they're going to sneak stuff like this in the middle of the night. That's why we have to stay awake. We can't fall asleep, and we can't rest on our laurels, because we're up against a radical administration. We're up against something that we've never seen before, and we have to pay attention because they're going to try their best to sneak it in when we're not looking.